Hello, everybody. Welcome back to more Deadtime Stories. We're moving on to Nightmare on Planet X, and welcome to Terror Go Round.
So exciting.
Yes, we are now getting into the tail end of the ones I actually have when I was a little kid. From Scholastic Magazine, we're getting towards the end of that.
Do you remember these?
This one I did not own. I had I had through this one and one more after this, and I missed this. So we're getting towards the end of what I had as a kid. So it's interesting revisiting them, and this is one of those, as I said with one or two other ones in previous videos, there are a couple that when I reread them, I remembered reading them like 25 years ago, whatever. And this one I remembered reading, because I remember even as a kid, reading these when I was, 10 years old or whatever, 9, 10 years old. I had the same thoughts as I had reading them in my mid-30s. I had the same problems, so that's where it comes into having the mindset of trying to think of these as I'm back in second, third grade, whatever, reading them. Even at the kid at that age, I had the same problems with this one. I ended up giving this one a 4 out of 10.
I gave this one a 6.
Alright, so why don't you go ahead and give us a read.
Nicky is a long way from home. A very long way. Nicky and his family are flying to Grandma's house, but then their plane starts to go down, and that's the last thing Nicky remembers. Now he's woken up in a strange hospital room. His parents and sister are nowhere to be seen. Worst of all, he's surrounded by weird-looking creatures preparing to do surgery on Nicky's brain. This has to be a nightmare, right? Wrong. Nicky is wide awake, and this is only the beginning of his terrifying adventure, for he and his family have been captured by aliens and transported 3,000 light years from home to a hostile planet called X.
So it's all the, family vacation
Gone
wrong kind of story. The big problem with this book, I found it far less entertaining than I think you did. And, I gave it a 4, and actually, originally, I gave it a 3 and scratched it out and gave it a 4. I thought 3 was a little unfair. But I gave it a 4 because the entire premise of this book relies on the twist ending that even as a kid, within the first 10 pages. And that's the big problem, because to me there was nothing super interesting or unique about this one except the twist ending. But if a 9-year-old, the target audience for this, knows the twist ending within the first 10 pages, the next 100 pages just don't have as much. There's nothing as interesting. So that was my big problem with this one. I don't know.
This comes with a postcard from Planet X. It says greetings from Planet X. And both of our copies have it.
Yeah, actually, I looked at it.
Which is exciting. I think the problem for me is that they did say Earth. They didn't just say Planet X. They do slip and say Earth.
Yeah.
R.L. Stine did the exact same kind of premise.
Yeah.
And I think, that was a more spooky.
But better.
And that was much better. That was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I think it was charming. There was charm to it. I think it was very obvious. But I think if you got past that, once you try and get over it being clever, because it's not being clever at all. Right. It was like an entertaining B movie. It was.
Couldn't even see it that way, because even the scenes with all the niece with her crazy scientist uncle and whatever, it lost something when you realized.
Oh, it did. It definitely
with a twist,
did.
To me, and again, it's one of those things where
I don't know.
Obviously as an adult, immediately what's going on, but even thinking back, and I remember as a kid, and that's the part where if it fails in its premise for a child audience, then it's it didn't pull it off.
No, it didn't. So. It definitely wasn't pulled off, but it was entertaining. This was an entertaining read, and it was. I think some of the problems I have with some of R.L. Stine's are that when that happens, when it fails, it's so boring. And I think with this, there was at least forward momentum. We got
That was boring. Even the thing should have been exciting. There was an escape.
Yeah, I liked the escape.
It felt so generic. I don't know.
It was generic, but it was. I think as a kid.
Yeah.
This would be more entertaining. So.
Yeah. But next one is one I didn't have as a kid, and this one I found to be very disappointing. I'll read the back.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. Hold on tight. The ride's about to begin. Alex and Joey are looking for thrills, but there aren't too many to be found in Middletown, the most boring place in the universe. Nothing exciting ever happens in Middletown. Nothing, that is, until a strange carnival rolls into town late one night, bringing with it the weirdest, most frightening group of people Alex and Joey have ever seen. Unfortunately, the boys have no idea just how scary the carny freaks really are. until a ride on the merry-go-round spins them back in time, trapping them in the carnival of terrors, where the sideshows are a scream and the games are to die for.
Yes. An exciting, actually a very interesting premise. In reading it, this is the kind of thing that it reminds me of a kind of premise that would have been in something like The Twilight Zone.
Yeah, I felt like
or
this
Night
was
Gallery,
very
or like
much
one of
Twilight
those.
Zone.
Yeah.
This comes with a tattoo.
Oh,
It's now
mine has the
free
tattoo
stuff.
also.
Yes.
Bedtime Stories. Yours the same as mine? Yeah.
Mine is the same, it just has a lot of yellowing on it.
But yeah, so that I was very interested in because again, we're getting this is one that I didn't have as a kid, so it's brand new to me.
Yeah.
And so that was fun, like reading as a trying that mindset of like being a young version of myself. And the premise again was very Twilight Zone, Night Gallery, Outer Limits type thing. It was very interesting.
Yeah.
But it just for me just kind of fell flat on its face. It just felt like a dull, very dull version of that.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun.
It had the tricking the trickster at his own
Yeah.
game kind of premise. I always like when they do that.
And I think what sells it for me is what sold this entire series. There's the interaction of the kids with the adults and with each other, and there's something very organic about that, and just the way the kids are. I feel like if R.L. Stine wrote it, they would have been very polite about it. These remind me of 50s kids. These are 90s kids. These are these are our generation. I can understand them and what they do, and I know what they're gonna do because it's what I would have done. And I don't know. I think this did a really good job. I really enjoyed it.
What'd you give it?
I gave it a 6.
Oh, you're talking like you gave it an 8. Why'd you give it a 6?
I gave it a 6 because it was very generic, and I wanted more from it. But I really like the idea of it.
But that's the same thing. I gave it a 5, but that's the same thing. As I really love the premise, and I think especially as a kid's story, you can do a lot with that, and it could have been really fun. I feel like it underplayed a little bit of the time travel mechanic. I feel like if this was 20, 30 pages longer, a little more in when they're traveling through time, because again, without spoiling too much, traveling through time and seeing your parents as teenagers, first meeting up kind of thing. You get a lot of the Back to the Future type stuff. There's so much you could have done with this that I feel like it kind of
there was a missed
started to go
opportunity.
there, and then it pulled back because there only has so much time to tell a story.
Yeah, I think that's its biggest problem. There was a lot of potential with this, but it didn't follow through, which was part of the problem.
This could also have been a two-parter. There's one big two-parter in this series. This could have been a two-parter. It leaves off with them trapped in one of the time frames, and then you get a sequel like that.
Yeah, I think
as a kid I would have loved that.
There's a couple of these that really could have done with a sequel, and of course, just like R.L. Stine, the one that gets the sequel is not the one that deserves that. So
all right.
I liked it though. It was fun.
But again, I think both had the same thing, kind of middle of the road. Moving on to the next ones in the next video, we'll be getting into one of the sequels as we talk about.